Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavad-gītā Acharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavad-gītā Acharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. All right. 16. On this 16th day of July, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad-gītā as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 6 entitled Dhyāna-yoga, text 9, page 264. Surin Mitrari Udasina Madhyasta Dvaishya Bandhushu Sarushu Api Chapapeshu Samabuddhir Vishishyate Surin Mitra Yudasina Madhyasta Dvaishya Bandhushu Sadhu Shapi Chapapeshu Samabuddhi Vishishyate Suran Mitra Yudasina Madhyasta Dvaishya Bandhushu Sadhu Shapi Chapapeshu Samabuddhi Vishishyate Suran Mitra Yudasina Madhyasta Dvaishya Bandhushu Sadhu Shapi Chapapeshu Samabuddhi Vishishyate Suran Mitra Yudasina Madhyasta Dvaishya Bandhushu Sadhu Shapi Chapapeshu Samabuddhi Vishishyate. Not yet. Okay. Anyone online? Guess not. Suhrit, to well-wishers by nature. Mitra, benefactors with affection. Ari, enemies. Udasina, neutrals between belligerents. Madhyastha, mediators between belligerents. Dvaisha, the envious. Bandhushu, and the relatives or well-wishers. Sadhushu, unto the pious. Api, as well. Cha, and Papishu, unto the sinners. Samabuddhi, having equal intelligence. Vishishyate, is far advanced. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Okay, so this is the advanced yogi, different stage of advancement. Text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam Atmanam rahasi stitaha Ekaki yata chittatma Nirashir aparigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Purport. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means, concisely, to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman, or the localized Supersoul, are also partially Krishna conscious, because the impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Vishnu, and the Supersoul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. No, the spiritual ray of Krishna and the Supersoul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi, or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate prapantikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshabhi parityago vairagyam phalgukhatyate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 255, 256. A Krishna-conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental, and he is always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Going back to text 9, at the end it says, what the translation, with an equal mind. What exactly is he meaning, Srila Prabhupada meaning, or actually that's not Srila Prabhupada, but what exactly is meant by that?
Well, it's a translation of sama buddhi. Sama means the same. And it's, the idea is that you see within everyone, because you understand everyone is working in different modes of nature. So that some are going to be well-wishers, some will be benefactors, some will be neutral, media, envious. There's a whole spectrum here. Yeah. So, but you try to see through the ever-changing external elements. You know, someone who's now a friend. Some years ago, he didn't even know you, so it's now a different thing that's going on. We're on page 266 of the book. So the idea is you see everyone as a super soul, as a soul, as an atma. You see, and so understanding that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna and ultimately Krishna conscious. You know, so just by the conditioning. The subtle conditioning and the gross conditioning, they're manifesting these non-Krishna conscious aspects of personality. So you try to see everyone the way Krishna sees them, right? Because Krishna doesn't have any prejudice, you know, against anyone. He sees everyone as a spirit soul. He's in the heart of everyone. You see. And so, even though now you have to deal with them, just like the intermediate or the three levels of devotees: the pure, so perfectly pure, and then the advanced but not perfectly pure, and then the neophyte. So the intermediate or Madhyama Adhikari has this. There's a certain verse describing that. And it says. Ishwaretad adineshu balisheshu dvishatrucha prema maitri kipo pekshaya karoti madhyama. Madhyama means the intermediate devotee. So there's 4 different categories of persons mentioned in the first line. Ishvara, that's the Lord, the Supreme Person. Tad adineshu, those related to the Lord, the devotees. Balisheshu means those who are not inimical but innocent people. People who can be somewhat receptive to Krishna consciousness. And then there's the out and out atheist enemies. So you relate to them differently. Unlike here, it's not, you don't see them all with an equal mind. But you may see them with an equal mind. They're all spirits, but you relate to them differently. For the Lord, you try to develop love, prema, and maitri for the devotees, friendship, where you meet together, you glorify Krishna, you do service together. For the innocent, those who might be receptive to Krishna consciousness, you try to show them mercy by giving them Krishna consciousness. And for the envious and out-and-out atheists, you try to ignore them. You don't try to interact with them at all. So that's you may see them with an equal mind because they're all spirits, but you deal with them differently. That's the point, you see. But seeing as you try to see as Krishna sees. He's not partial to anyone, but he has to deal with them differently to where they're at on the spectrum of Krishna consciousness. Just like Krishna, he killed Hiranyakashipu. He didn't develop hatred against him, but he was tormenting Prahlad, so he annihilated him, sent him on the way, back to Vaikuntha actually, because he's Jayo Vijay. That's a special case. But Krishna doesn't cultivate hatred for these demons. He deals with them as they're dealing with him. In Vrindavan, they're trying to kill him, so he protects the devotees and kills all the demons. But he doesn't kill anybody. I mean, they leave the body, and because they're killed by Krishna, they're benefited. That's the idea. So similarly, we deal with everyone to see them. Can they accept any Krishna consciousness or not? If not, then we just, pass them on, give them, like my walk. I take a walk. I learned so much from the walk. Well, I know nobody, few people would chant Hare Krishna if I say Hare Krishna. So I do as Prabhupada did. I give them a nice good morning. And almost reflexively, they'll say good morning back, And I know that that's a little bit of benefit, for them, because they recognize. But there's one fellow, John, I mentioned, who's, got Best by Marcy. He has some books. So he likes to sit on the other side of caste now. So I know somebody, I give him the big, Hare Krishna, John, Hare Krishna. So he gives me Hare Krishna. And on the way back, I also do it. So that's the idea. That you don't pigeonhole people, and develop a whole, partisan thing going on. You see, everybody's a spirit soul. But you deal with them in such a way, you see them with an equal mind, but you may deal with them differently. If you have an affectionate benefactor, you may give them, books. You may give them a Hare Krishna, invite them to the temple, Envious, you say, okay, Haribol, And friends, so on one side, there's seeing them equally as a soul. But on the other side, practically speaking, you have to act differently, although you feel the same. You don't develop the enemies, deep internal hatred. That's not part of it, So that's what he's talking about here. All right, so we did 10, right? Okay. So just to review these verses that Prabhupada quotes in the purport here. This is what's the definition of vairagya for devotees. That's the first verse, anasakta sibhishayan, in page 266. And the second one describes a weak vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. It's important to see the distinction between vairagya and tyaga. Tyaga means literally to give something up. We do vairagya, we do that tyaga, the 4 regular principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, illicit sex, or gambling. But vairagya is a step up. It means not even having a desire for those things. Purging or cleansing the desire in the heart for things that block us from Krishna consciousness. That's really what we need. And that goes along with knowledge. If you really know how harmful something is, if you're really intelligent, then you'll give it up, you see? But your desire may still be there. So you need to give it up, but at the same time cultivate Krishna consciousness, which will even cleanse the desire for it. See how important that is, you know? So this is all about vairagya. So here the first, anasakta vishaya means without attachment to the objects of the senses. Here's the word vishaya again. But yatahama bhuyunjata, as appropriate, engaging them in Krishna service. Right? That's what upayunjata. Nirbandha. In this way you remain unbound by those things. Because you're only attached to something according to how it can be used for Krishna service. If it comes, it comes. If not, it's not. You see. And therefore, nirbandha, but you increase your bondage to Krishna, bondage of affection. You see that? Nirbandha to all these vishayas, but Krishna sambandhe. And that's the key. By doing that, everything else develops. You remain unattached to the objects of the senses, but eager to engage them where appropriate in Krishna's service. So you're not bound to the things. Those are medium by which you can serve Krishna. And you're increasing your bondage to Krishna, which is what we want. We want to be as bound to Krishna as we can. This is called yuktam vairagya muchyate. This is yukta vairagya, means detachment by engaging the objects of the senses in Krishna's service. By contrast, the second verse describes the impersonalists. Prapanchikataya buddhya, having the mentality of it being material. You see, even those things related to Hari. Hari sambandhi vastuna. Vastuna are things that have a relation to Hari. The deity forms. You have a dyed-in-the-wool, Mayavadi impersonalist come in here, and he actually thinks that we're worshiping idols, that we're worshiping a stone statue. You see, but actually we're worshiping Krishna. Krishna agrees to relate to us through the stone because we can see him and serve him in that form. We can't see him in the spiritual form right now, but this is a way that we can relate to him. And of course, he's out of his great mercy, he comes as the holy name, which you can hear and chant, and that's also not different from Krishna. But prapanchika means regarding as material, having the mentality buddhya, even those things related to Hari. Mumukshabhi. These are the ones who are after mukti or liberation. You see? We're not ultimately after liberation. We're after love for Krishna. Liberation or mukti comes as a byproduct. You see? So, mumukshabhi parityaga. Pari means giving everything up. You know? Even those things related to Krishna. This is called polgu vairagya. Polgu means weak. Polgu means weak. It probably gives an example of a river in India. I'm not sure if you know, it's called the Polgu River. And it dries up in the summer. There's no river there. You know, it's dry. But if you press down your hand in the sand, it'll hit some water. So if you look a little deep in the heart of the personalist, there's all these desires, you know, that are still there. And so because there's ultimately no liberation, there's no mukti without bhakti. There's a verse, what is it? Haring vinana mriting taranti. Without Hari, you're not going to be able to cross over birth and death. You can't get free from death. In other words, you may think that you're liberated, but you're not really, because you don't have attraction for the Lord. And so this is weak vairagya, and you can easily go back to being attached to things of this world. So those verses are very important. If we really want liberation, we need to cultivate bhakti. That's the only means. All right, let's go on. So now he's going to give some very practical instruction about how to practice Ashtanga Yoga. Shuchal deshe patishtapya stiramasana atmanaha natrutritam nati nicham chailajana kushotaram tattaikagram kritva yachichittendriya kriyaha ubhavishyasane yunjyad yogam atma vishuddhaye. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. And of course that one point, as he will describe in the next verses, the point between the eyebrows, which I don't know how you avoid going cross-eyed if you keep looking at it, but that's the recommendation. Purport: sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists or the devotees, all leave home and reside in a sacred place such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Hardwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. And one should remember that Prabhupada lived in that yoga society. When he first came to New York, he didn't have a place of his own, but there was a Dr. Mishra who had already established a yoga studio in the Upper East Side of New York City, of Manhattan. So Prabhupada was able to, get his help, and he was able to stay there. Eventually, he wouldn't let him stay in Upper East Side place. He moved him on to the West Side and near the river, because Prabhupada was attracting his followers. He didn't want them preaching in his ashram, But he had that experience here, so he's able to mention it. Often this is not possible, especially the so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihanaradiya Purana, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, that's how you say it, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gataranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there is no other way. So this is a very famous verse. When Lord Chaitanya met Prakashananda Saraswati and his thousands of Mayavadi followers in in Benares, he said that his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya accepted Ishwara Puri as his spiritual master, he was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, that he cited this verse and for Lord Chaitanya. Now what he said was, which I think that he, was just, he said to Prakashananda, because Prakashananda wanted to know, because first of all, back up a little bit, Lord Chaitanya, when he took sannyas, the only sannyasis, with the pole and traveling were Mayavadis. The devotees, if they became really serious and renounced, they would become Babajis, which is different. They're dedicated to preaching so much. They usually go to Vrindavan, they do parakram, they go around Govardhan every day, which is a big austerity, Like the six Goswamis. They weren't known as sannyasis because they didn't really travel much out of Vrindavan, see. So when Lord Chaitanya went to he left home, and he went to first he went to I forget the name of the town, but where Rupa and Sanatan were, the capital of Bengal at the time, because he knew about them. They had written to him. And so they saw him, and then they uttered this famous verse, Namo Mahavadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Goda Tujay Namaha. I offer my humble obeisance unto the most munificent avatar of Krishna. Munificent, there's two words Prabhupada would use to describe Lord Chaitanya, more than often. Magnanimous and munificent. Now, magnanimous is also a very wonderful word, but it means basically very forgiving. You see, very generous-minded kind of thing. But munificent literally means full of charity, you see. Maha Vadanyaya. Dana is the gift. Vadanyaya is one who gives gifts easily. And Lord Chaitanya gave the greatest gift, love of God, through the chanting of the holy name. He made it accessible to everybody. So anyway, but at that time, to take a sannyas, which means traveling and preaching, which was what Lord Chaitanya wanted to do, meant to take an initiation from a Mayavadi sannyasi. So this Keshava Bharati was in that line, you see, and he took initiation from him. So then he went eventually, pretty quickly, he went to Benares, where he met up with Prakashananda Saraswati. He already had some devotees living there. And he was going in the streets chanting Hare Krishna. And there were thousands of people following him, you know. But the Prakashananda and his followers, he also had thousands of followers. And they said, look at this, you know, he's one of us. He's a sannyasi, he's Mayavadi initiated, but he's doing this dancing and chanting. So they were blaspheming him, and Lord Chaitanya's devotees couldn't stand that. So he said, we can't stand hearing this of you, you know, can you please go and talk to them? So normally he would avoid the Mayavadi, but this time he went to their stronghold. And it was very brilliant the way he did it. When he walked in, you know, he went to wash his feet and everything. And then he just sat down there. Normally you don't sit down there because it's not the cleanest place, you know. So, and then he started to show his Brahman effulgence, you know, he was brilliant. So that's what the Mayavadis are really into. The Brahman said, oh, he must be God, you know, he must. But still, they wanted to ask him, well, why are you dancing and chanting? You know, why don't you study with us? You know, you study the Vedanta Sutra. That's what they do. So Lord Chaitanya said, well, my spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, told me I'm not eligible to study Vedanta Sutra, that I should just chant the holy name. And he cited this verse, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama. Now, I don't think that Ishwara Puri told him that, because he was already known as Nimai Pandit. And in fact, Ishwara Puri had written a book that he asked Lord Chaitanya to edit. Now, if he thought that he was not smart enough to study Vedanta Sutra, why would he ask him to edit his book? You know, I think he just told him that. Because what happened is that he says, yeah, so I'm not really eligible. And then they kept discussing it, and so they asked him, well, what's your opinion of the Vedanta Sutra, you know? So then he started explaining the Vedanta Sutra, and especially the Atma Rama verse. There's an Atma Rama verse, which is very important in the Bhagavad-gītā. Atma Ramascha muniyo nirgranta apyurukame kovanta hoitatim bhaktim ittam bhuta gunohari. Those who are really Atma Rama, are munis, are great sages. Atma Rama means fully satisfied in oneself, because you're in touch with the Lord in the heart, you see. Nirgranta, no knots left in the heart for attraction and material thing. Urukrame, to Urukrama means the great actor, you know. Urukram is a name for Vamanadev. It can also mean the big stepper. He takes big steps. You know the story of Vamana? You know, yeah, he covered the whole universe in 2 steps. Where will I put my 3rd step? Because Bali was saying, you know, he's so small. Anyway, so how much land can you cover with 3 steps? You know, come on, I give you a whole planet. He said, no. If a Brahmin isn't satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord, you know. So he took that. As soon as he gave him the benediction, he covered. 1 step covered the whole world, the next step covered the whole universe, and knocked through the covering, and the water started to leak in from the causal ocean and turned into the Ganges. So he came down, and so then he said, my dear sir, where shall I put my 3rd step? You said 3 steps. They put it on his head, they put it on my head. So Bali at that moment became a Mahajan, you know, a great devotee. He's a descendant of Prahlad, so he has a natural tendency. So that's another thing. But So Lord Chaitanya, you know, he was taking that role of, well, you know, I'm really wasn't qualified to study the Vedanta Sutra. So they said, finally they asked him, well, what do you think about the Vedanta Sutra, even though he's told them that story? So he started to describe it, you know, what is the Vedanta Sutra? And, you know, the summary of his explanation is Prabhupada's name, Bhakti Vedanta. The ultimate knowledge in the Vedanta Sutra is Bhakti, as proven by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, Vyasadeva, so he could, And Bhagavatam is nothing but glorification of Krishna, his avatars, his devotees, and the process of devotional service. So anyway, so this is, you can see that now. Who's gonna really do this? Is anyone here? What do you think, Kathy? Would you like to go and find a deer skin? We'll get you. You can sit, in a secluded place. You have to be a very secluded place. You can't do it here. Well, that's very nice of you, yeah. Of course, it's possible that, you'd have to wait for a deer to die. Why a deer skin? Prabhupada explains on the tape, because the deer skin has a certain chemical property that it repels snakes. So that, it's like natural selection. Those who had that property survived. The others got bitten by snakes and they didn't produce. So anyway, that's classic, where they find a dead deer and then the other. But the point is, it's impossible. Where are we going to go? You go to the Himalayas, or you're going to go to Big Sur? Try to find a place, that's secluded. That's the first thing. And then the whole thing of, you'll see that yama, niyama, then pranayama. Have you ever done the breathing? Yeah, it's very good for you. It makes you relax. But really, to do it, you have to control all the airs in the body and all of this. It's not going to happen. So Prabhupada brings, if you see in these purposes, he's always bringing it home to bhakti, right? Krishna is now speaking about Ashtanga Yoga, where the ultimate realization really is the Lord in the heart, But this age is not suitable for it, and we need an easy way, a practical way to immediately practice bhakti so we can purify our heart and awaken that love for Krishna, which is actually the goal of the whole thing. Even the yogis, they ultimately come to that point, because otherwise they get diverted generally by the siddhis, the powers that you can get from yoga, which can be a big distraction, as we learn in the Shastra. All right, let's go on. So now he's really describing what the yogi should do when he's meditating. Samam kaya shiro grivam Dharyan achalam stiraha Samprekshanasikagram svam Dishaschana valokanam Prashantatma vigatabhir Brahmachari vratestitaha Manaksangyam yamachitto Yukta asita matparaha. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Now it's the tip of the nose. Is this the tip of the nose? It's like nasikagra, where the nose begins. Does it begin here or does it begin up here? This is also sometimes get to be nasikagra. So one or the other, but either way, you're going to get cross-eyed. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Purport: the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as the Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting its time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarvavastasu sarvadha sarvatra maitana tyago brahmacharyam pratakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words, and mind, at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. No, close quote, no one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukula, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder, brahmachari, may be accepted in the bhakti school. But the jnana and dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad-gītā 2:59 it is said, Vishayavani vartante nirahara siddehinaha rasavardham rasopyasya padam drishtva nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vigata B means fearlessness. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam 11.237 says, Bhayam vidya banabesha taksyad ishad apetasya viparyayo asmritihi. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of the popular so-called yoga societies. So the idea here is that without practicing this system that Krishna has outlined here, of going to a secluded place, sitting on the deerskin, sitting in the asana, which is very strict, and controlling the breathing, withdrawing the senses, all of this stuff. Without doing all that, we can become the best yogis by bhakti yogis. The chanting and dancing, Prabhupada once was asked about, well, where's the pranayama? He said, well, if you're chanting and dancing and breathing heavily, you're doing pranayama. You don't have to worry about pranayama. Your breathing is regulated. That's the Sankirtan process. Is Kali Doshanade Rajan. This age of Kali Yuga is full of faults. It's an ocean of faults. Doshanade Rajan. But Asti Eko Mahadguna. There was one very special quality to this age. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangam Param Bhajet. Simply by Kirtana Krishna, chanting Krishna's name and glories like that, Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha. Become free from the attraction to the material. That's the idea. And then what? Param Bhajet. You go to the supreme abode. You go back to Godhead. So even though it's Kali Yuga, we have a great advantage. We're human beings in the Kali Yuga. We've been exposed to this philosophy and this chanting, and so we have this golden opportunity to make this life successful by developing our original relationship with Krishna. And Prabhupada's, all of his commentaries here, they'll always bring it back to bhakti, and Krishna himself does at the end of the chapter. Because Arjuna says, I can't do it. Don't worry, you'll take birth in a better family, continue next life. Who wants to wait till next life? So at the end, he says, don't worry. Yogi nama visarvishad margatenantara shraddhavan bhajate yo mam samayukta tamamanta. Of all the yogis, one who is always worshiping me and seeing me within the heart and worshiping me with great and transcendental faith is the best of all. So Arjuna has a big sigh of relief. And then in the next chapter, 7, Krishna starts outlining how we can see Krishna everywhere. In Samoham Sabhabu, it says, Rasoham Apsakonteya, I am the taste of water, I am the light of the sun and the moon, I have the sound and ether, I am the ability in man. So we encounter those everywhere. We just have to make that step, take that step. Oh, I'm just drinking water. Oh, that taste, that's Krishna. Now I can think of Krishna. And when do you not see the sunlight? Even now you can see the sunlight. So that's much more practical for us than just go off to Himalayas, and try to beat the mind down, Not going to work. All right, we have some time. Let's go on. Text 15. Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasah shantim nirvana padamam matsangstam adhigacchati. So here we are again with nirvana. You remember the last chapter? We had a lot of Brahma nirvana. So this is again nirvana. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God, the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence. Purport. The ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi according to the Bhagavad-gītā. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into, quote, the void, which is only a myth. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The abode of the Lord is also clearly described in the Bhagavad-gītā as that place where there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illuminated, like the sun in the material sky. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Param Dhamma, or superior abodes. A consummate yogi, who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly stated herein by the Lord himself, mat-citta, mat-para, mat-sthanam, can attain real peace and can ultimately reach his supreme abode, Krishna Loka, known as Goloka Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita 537, it is clearly stated, Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhutaha. The Lord, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma as well by dint of his superior spiritual energies. No one can reach the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha, or enter into the Lord's eternal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, without the proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansion, Vishnu. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi, because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Savaimana Krishna Padada Vindayo. In the Vedas also, Sved-ashvatara Upanishad 3.8, we learn, Tameva vididvati mrityumeti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence, and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to befool innocent people. Well, that's pretty clear. Control of mind. Actually, the mystic mind attains to the kingdom of God, the abode of Krishna. So this is the ultimate goal, even in this chapter describing Dhyāna-yoga. And we'll read in a couple of verses what it means to be in samadhi, and that very closely aligns with the consciousness of the pure devotee. That the yoga system is meant for controlling the mind. As we learned earlier in this chapter, the mind can be the best friend of the living being or the worst enemy. The mind absorbed in Krishna thought is your best friend, but meditating on the objects of the senses is your worst enemy. You see, we're not the mind, we're the spirit soul. We have a mind and we have a body. But without knowledge of the practice by which we can control the mind and progressively make our way, on the path of bhakti yoga, and then we're victims. We're helpless because our whole idea of what's valuable in this world and what's the proper way to act is conditioned by our attachments that we've developed over many, many births. So therefore, the intervention of a pure devotee and the exposure to this knowledge is really the best welfare work for the whole world. Okay, so that's good. Now he's going to, don't eat too much, don't eat too little, like that. Don't sleep too much, and don't sleep too little. There's not much chance of that. Hare Krishna. So we'll pick that up on Monday, the text 16. We'll leave a little time here for a little poems. Okay, so you haven't heard this one in a while. But I don't think, you haven't heard many of my poems, right? If any. Okay. So this is one about the holy name. It's called Kevalashtaka. The verse that's in the purport, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva Gataranyata. It quotes from that. Kevalam means only. Hare Nama. So this is the only way. The only way is the chanting of the holy name. So here's the first Sanskrit, then, and I'll just do the English. Modaram modarebhyopi, mangalebhyopi mangalam, bhavanam bhavanebhyopi, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Now that line is quoted from the verse. Of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of things that purify, it purifies most powerfully. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Then he says, Abrahmastamba paryantam sarvam mayamayam jagat satyam satyam punak satyam Hare Nama eva kevalam. From Brahma's realm atop the sky down to the lowly grass, illusion reigns in Maya Devi's treacherous morass. The truth, the only truth, the name of Shri Hari. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. So Hari is another name for Krishna. Then it says, Saguru sapitachapi samata bandhavopisa shikshiyechadasmartam Hare Nama eva kevalam. He's the guru, he's the father, he's the friend most true. And she's the real mother who most kindly teaches you to always chant and hear the holy name of Shri Hari. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Nikshvase nahi vishvaso kadarudho bhavishyati kirtane mata bharyad Hare Nama eva kevalam. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Hari sadavase tatra yatra bhagavata jana gayanti bhakti bhavena Hare Nama eva kevalam. So he says, Lord Shri Hari forever dwells wherever devotees, whose hearts are fixed in Him and free of all impurities, uplift their voices high and sing His name in ecstasy. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. How's it go? I'm forgetting. I forget the Sanskrit. I remember the English though. Alas, what sorrow, what great pain, the worst calamity, for people to forget the holy name of Shri Hari. Although the name's a priceless gem, mere broken glass they see. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely forgot. Then it goes, yes. English only. Just fill your ears, just fill your ears, just fill them with the name of Shri Hari. Just chant the name, just chant the name with all sincerity. Just sing the name, just sing the holy name eternally. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. It makes this world appear like bits of straw upon the ground. Resplendently it reigns supreme, divinity and sound. It's filled with transcendental bliss and peerless purity. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Inspired to glorify the holy name of Shri Hari, a certain sage composed this hymn in Sanskrit poetry. I pray that those who hear this lowly version made by me will chant the holy name of Shri Hari in ecstasy. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Baba. So now we're adjourned for evening artik. Have you been before? 8:15, well, the curtains will open. Yeah.